Hey guys, we're gonna do a little bit of an extraction here today, and I've already been working on the hive a little bit. So you see this little container on its side. The comb that was up in the top of the roof, I was able to take out. There was actually a lot of wax and nectar and honey inside of there, and so I've basically set it in this little container and placed it in front of the hive so that the bees can go in and basically get all that nectar and honey back out and put it back in the hive. But it got rid of the burr comb that was on top in the roof. They were building, they were actually building up quite a bit, so I needed to move it so that it wouldn't create an issue later. So one of the things that we're going to do today is the outside frame is still not like 100% capped. It's about maybe 80 or 90%. But I did take the frames out and look at them and do like an inspection on the inside of the hive. And both, well, one, you'll see the video I posted yesterday shows these three are filling back up, which is crazy to me. But even though the very last cells on this one are not filled, the entire thing on both sides is fully filled and capped. And same thing for this end one. These are the two that I haven't, well, the three that I haven't drained yet are the outermost, and then this one. And so I just went to go check the status and actually take the frames out and look at them, and they are 100%, other than these last little edge cells, they're completely filled and capped. So I'm going to end up draining just these two today. So the outer one and this one, that should be about a gallon of honey total. And then probably in the next few days I'll be able to do this outermost one. I really want to get a video of the side of it when the frames are cracked. But that being said, I did want to go ahead and kind of show the whole process again, and I think I'm going to start with this middle one here. You know what? I have to pause the video because I have to go get the little nozzle insert, so I will be right back. Okay, so that's the little piece that I needed. We're going to walk back out to the hive real quick. Again, just coming out in a t-shirt and jeans. I did have the smoker out because I wasn't sure if I would need it, but I ultimately didn't end up using it. So I'll show you really the whole process, because I've had people ask and I didn't quite video every step of the way last time. So this is an empty 1 gallon jar. And again, I'm doing this one-handed, so bear with me. I just finished cleaning, so we're going to come over here to the little nozzle hole. I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to put this in to create a spout, and then I'm going to line up my spout with my jar because it's not quite right. Yeah, it looks good, roughly. A little bit more. Okay, so then up here, there's this little pull out, and that's where the key goes, or the lever for the key. And so you just put that, I'll zoom out here so you can see it, you just put that in this little slot. I don't do it all the way because each one you crack lets a lot of honey out into the frame itself, and if it overflows, then it can be hard to manage inside the hive. So if you just do it a little bit at a time. Let's see if I can get the view down the little tube here. I'm going to crack the So there it goes, honey. And that is just pouring into the jar here. Going it down. It's already clean honey. There's no filtration process. See if I can look down the barrel again. So you can see it kind of dripping inside. Along the side here. And as far as the bees go, you know, they're doing their stuff. In fact, if you look out, I mean, they are in full-on foraging mode, going to get more. So they've also, if you look at these frames along the back here, I just drained these a week ago, like literally 1 week ago, and there was a ½ gallon each, and these are all filling back up already. They estimated that it would take about a month to refill, and so I've got a gallon and a half just on this outside 3 frames, and once this fills back up, we're still in the summer flow, so there's plenty of resources coming in. You can look down at the jar here, it's already going on. I'm gonna turn and unlock the next little section. Of course, this is all real time, so you can see, you know, the honey's filling up the jar here. This one's a little bit lighter. I haven't tasted it yet. Let me see if it tastes any different. It is a little bit different. So far, every frame has been just a little bit unique. I don't know how to describe that one. It's definitely the traditional honey flavor, but it's got a little bit more of a I don't know, I can't place it. Just very floral. Really good tasting. Alright. I'm going to do the next little section here. So you basically just turn it. You can see just that change from turning it, what's pouring out, increases the flow. I love this thing. I mean, it's been just a great process. You can still, you know, the complaints I've ever seen on forums and websites predominantly have to do with people that think this is just passive and not still beekeeping, or think that, you know, you go out here and every once in a while you drain the honey and you never see the bees or interact with them. And so that's very much not the case, at least in my experience personally. There's still very much the beekeeping aspect to it, and making sure that, you know, we're taking care of any mite issues, or inspecting the hive regularly, checking on the frames before you drain them. So like I said, even though these last little cells weren't completely full, I did an inspection on the hive well before I actually drained it. And in case anybody comments where I see like 2 bees or maybe a couple bees that are in the frames themselves. If you'll stick around for the video, once this is fully drained, when I release them, the bees are perfectly fine. There's no issues. They're able to crawl out of the frames and continue on. There, I just turned the next little bit of the key and see the flow increasing again. So we're up to almost a half gallon. Not quite. Go ahead and do this last little cell. I think that was pretty much it. Yeah. So again, inside the hives, still perfectly content. Nobody's freaking out. Bees on the front board are just working, going to town, in and out, bringing in resources. They're still collecting all this extra stuff from the inside of the little container that I have here that I put the extra wax and honeycomb in. They're collecting that back off and taking it into the hive. Meanwhile, I'd say that's solidly a half gallon of honey. It's still draining pretty well. So I'm gonna pause this here because I don't want you to have to wait for the last little drizzles to come out. It's still flowing pretty well, but it's gonna slow down a little bit just because of the time it's gonna take to get all that extra honey out. And I'll start this back up again when I'm ready to do the next frame. Alright, so I just finished the last little drips. We got well over a half gallon, which is awesome. And so the last one we're going to do is this last frame over here. I'm going to use the same container. So far this is the first time I've blended the honeys. This one's really good. Actually, so before I do that, I'm gonna use this smaller jar here that I have, and that way I can at least taste it and see if it's similar. And if it is, then no worries. We'll just keep it all in the same container. If it really is genuinely different, then I won't mix them. I'll keep it separate. So I'll set this one up here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the plug. Again, I know all of the cells here are not full, but I did take the whole frame out earlier just to view it, and it is 100% capped on all of the other cells except for these last little ones, so I'm not too worried about it. Pull my little rod here, and I'm just going to do the first few. Oh, I need my nozzle though. Okay. And then let's crack them. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Cool. And that's just like the first four cells or so. Like I didn't go very far in with the bar. I wouldn't do this just because I think if you're going to drain the frames, you need to drain all of them. But I guess theoretically you could just do, you know, a few frames of comb and just collect that and then reseal them. But I feel that's kind of breaks up how they're used to processing. So, all right, I'm gonna taste this real quick and see if we're gonna blend it with the other. I mean, it's really similar. It's got more of a caramelly flavor to it. The other one had more of a, I don't want to say citrus. It wasn't citrus, but it was like a brighter color. Like, the terrible word for a flavor descriptor, but this one is a little bit more mild. It has more of a vanilla or caramel flavor. I don't know, it could be good just to mix the two and have those two flavors together. Have the more bright citrusy with the caramel vanilla. Meanwhile, that's almost full. So I'm going to pause this because doing this one-handed and trying to navigate merging those two jars is going to be really challenging. So I'm going to pause this real quick, and then once I can get those jars combined and drain the rest of it out into the bigger jar, we'll be good to go. Alrighty, that didn't take very long at all. So I went ahead and cracked the next set of cells. Again, that's a whole gallon jar. I think we are going to fill that for sure. So I'll keep the other jar on hand just in case we have an overflow. And again, they're still peaceful as can be, still foraging. Oh, my brightness level here. There we go. That's the jar I was just pouring into. It's collecting down at the bottom now. But back here, oh, it's too dark. And we're just going to town. If you're curious what the cinnamon's doing in the background, reference that in another video, but one of the things I was trying to do was fight ants and sugar ants. And one of the, I guess, non-toxic tips was to use cinnamon around the hive, and that would help. It hasn't really. I've tried some diatomaceous earth and tried to see if that would help as well. So we'll see how that ends up going. I love looking in this observation window and just seeing what everybody's up to. I've been really happy with this whole process and just how really non-invasive it is. Sorry, I'm putting the rod back in to go ahead and crack the next set. It's been really, I feel like a really easy process. Definitely easy on the bees. It didn't seem to be stressful. And I'll be honest, I wasn't planning, like I didn't think I would get honey this year. In fact, I had read lots of forums, but I'm in the South, I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and so there's a lot of, I guess a lot of nectar flow right now. People are planting flowers, and a lot of flowers are growing in bloom. We planted sunflowers, and they're actually in bloom right now. So I'm excited to see if that honey ends up tasting any different. But there's still plenty of honey in here for the bees themselves down in the brood box, and obviously they're still filling up the other flow frames. It's likely that our I'm going to add a second brood box after I finish maybe one more or two more collections. If I get another gallon or two of honey. And then if they fill that brood box up and then still have any surplus, then that'll probably get them set for the winter. You're not supposed to store the flow frames on the hive over the winter. There's this little white line here. That's the queen excluder. So the queen stays in this bottom box, and then the brood, the nurse bees and the hive bees all come up to the top for excess storage. But for the most part, I've just got everything in the one brood box, and then we've got one super, which is the upper box. So there hasn't been really a need to expand so far, but the hive's getting pretty full. I mean, if you look at any of my first videos, there really weren't any bees in this upper observation window. There might be like 5 or 10. I mean, actually 5 or 10. And now we're so packed full. There's so many bees in this hive now, and from a collection standpoint, like they're bringing in a substantial amount of resources, which is great. And part of draining these hives gives them more to do ultimately,